Welcome to the workshop.
Welcome back to the workshop.
In this week's episode, we're going to be putting the finishing touches to our pedal box and get one step closer to going BWOP. My name is Oliver, and this is my dad, Andrew. He's a wicked engineer and my next door neighbour. We've always wanted to build a car together and make your own gear knob kit. There you go.
This might take a while.
Building a car and making memories with my dad. One of one, this is Project Mosquito. Up until now, a lot of people have assumed that this pedal box is actually really heavy. It's not that bad. It's not as light as it will be, but it's not that bad. It's just visually heavy because there's lots of large pieces, but most of that can go, actually. And this thing will get a heck of a lot lighter very, very quickly. Making an Alba.
I am.
Have you told the people that you're making an Alba?
No, not yet.
He's making an Alba. All that just to drill a hole.
Is it ready, son?
So we've decided that we're going to swap these two outer pins and put the noodle on this side because we're going to route it slightly differently than we were going to. We're going back to our original plan because this takes 30 millimeters of cable pull. It needs a pull and not a lever. It's starting to extrude because it's rubbing its way through. One thing I know doesn't come across in these videos is a sense of scale, and that's our fault really. We use a camera that never goes out of focus. So like from back here to almost right up to the camera. Actually, if something's really close, like this piece of Scotch-Brite, it will actually go blurry. Can you see that? But other than that, every single thing in the room's in focus. And we do that so we never miss a shot. The problem with that is you get no depth. I've actually been messing around with camera settings lately to try and kind of get some depth. But the problem with no depth is there's no scale. And so you miss just how tiny Mosquito is. It's the size of a little Japanese K car like an AutoZam AZ1 or a Honda Beat. Actually, it's 5mm shorter nose to tail than a Honda Beat. But it has the same wheelbase as a Lancia Stratos, which me saying that, most people have never seen a Stratos, have they?
No.
And when people see a Stratos, they go, oh my God, it's tiny. Because everybody, like, you see a lot of classic cars in pictures look way bigger than they are in reality. Scale is really tricky, but it's tiny, basically. It's teeny tiny. And if you watch the Throttle House did a video with an AZ1, and they went to an American drive-through, and the window's like up here. Right, well, if you imagine that car but lower, that's what we're in. But yeah, it's a smaller car, but it's bigger inside.
This is our clutch. This is the stop we fit on our clutch. But we've got all this surplus material. So there's no point having it. Let's make it lighter. Let's just chop it off. It's not necessary.
It's way longer than it needs to be. Now then, are we going to polish it in this video?
Yeah, well, clean it up at least, yeah. If you'd have asked me quite a few weeks ago how long this pedal box would take to make, and I said, maximum 3 videos and it'll be finished complete.
Yeah, we said 3, maybe 4.
Yeah, but I never realised how much work actually goes into it.
Well, that's why they're £3 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're getting a bit fed up of pedal box videos, we are kind of.
That's not true.
No, I'd like to move on to something else now.
Yeah.
I'd like to get this finished beautifully.
But it's right when it's right.
Yeah. Until
it's right, it's not right.
Yeah. And wishful thinking doesn't make things right.
Certain jobs, right? I always think you have to, when you're on a bike, you like riding downhill, but hate riding uphill. But the key to being a really good cyclist is to learn to love riding uphill. Because if you can learn to love riding uphill, whether that's being on the right bike or having the right pedals or whatever, everything becomes a joy then. Because in order to have a really nice bike ride, you're gonna have to do stuff that you don't want to do, right? And working on a car like this, there'll always be jobs that suck. Right? There'll always be jobs that you really wish you didn't have to do. Or parts of the job, won't there? And this was really difficult for me when I was a kid. It's something that I had to learn over time. But the key is to learn to love the things that you hate doing. Like polishing. Because it's massively time consuming and massively dirty, but at the end of it you get something that's lightweight and beautiful. Speaking of which, I need to go out and get a tub of water and get my overalls on before I get warm water. I might as well take my watch off. Oh, Dad, what watch were you wearing last week? One with the blue face. Who made it?
Huh?
Who made the watch for your blue face?
Henry J.
Henry J. There you go. Somebody asked in the comments. Most of the time, if you see us wearing a watch, there's Seikos or variants of Seikos. Because, like a Seiko. That one's an Orient, but it's a Seiko.
It's really easy with a project like this just to rush things. Obviously this part of the pedal box is going to be undercover, nobody will ever see it, but I'll know it's there. And if I can just shave a little bit more weight off, if I can just make it a little bit nicer, And every time, when in the future we need to take that cover off, just to do an inspection or whatever, or maintenance, you can see what you've achieved and it'll always look superb. So we are not rushing. We're just taking our time and doing everything to the best of our ability.
How much better is that little clutch stop than it was last week? It was this big, long, horrible thing. One of the reasons why I don't want to anodise the pedal box black is it's really important to me that the car feels light and airy inside. A lot of sports cars feel very claustrophobic inside, very small, and I don't want that. I want my tiny car to feel big inside, light, airy. I want it to feel modern, or rather modernist. You know, like an Eames Lounger. I want it to feel luxurious, even though it's not wildly complicated and twiddly. I want it to feel like a nice place to be, a place where you actually want to sit and spend time, even though it's tiny. Because I know a car like a Strauss feels minute inside, which I don't want. I want it to feel nice on a long road trip. I don't want it to feel like you're driving in a hoodie, you know what I mean? And our car has a beautifully large glass area. Every time Miriam gets in the Mosquito, she says, oh my God, I can't believe how big it feels and how much of a view you have, because the GTM uses Mark 1 Mini windows at the front, the door windows. And so they're huge because they're for a much bigger car. And it has this curved windscreen. And so the view forward especially is amazing. And I want to preserve that, but I also want the interior to feel light and airy and modern and never to feel old-fashioned. So it has to feel timeless, which is obviously every designer in the world designs a car and goes, I want it to feel timeless, but it's true. At this point in the episode where I need to say a big thank you to all our Patreon members, especially Andy Wood, who is our 6th tier Patreon member. We've got quite the group growing now, so thank you for you all for supporting us. And I've noticed in the comments, Miriam has quite the fan club going. A couple of weeks ago, Miriam and I filmed a 2-part video on Patreon about what Miriam thinks of Mosquito and what she thought when Dad and I turned up in a box van with a wrecked car in the back, and we had a good talk about it. So if you'd like to watch that video, that's over on Patreon, which you can unlock for as little as £3.
Feel free to join Team Mosquito.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's super important that we keep putting it back together, then I don't chop off something that we actually need.
Black wheels are all the rage apparently at the minute.
I don't like black wheels at all.
Well, the problem with black wheels, in fact, I've even thought about repainting these, the black relief on them, is that it disappears, doesn't it?
You can spend a fortune on a pair of wheels that when you drive past, nobody can tell what they are.
Yeah. Can you imagine spending, like, on a set of HREs, I think you can spend as much as you like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then nobody gets to see them,
Yeah, they just disappear, yeah.
But all like bright works being Cerakoted and black anodized, and it's a really nice way to cover everything up. But anytime there's a trend like that, I always think that in a couple of years it's going to look old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And anytime there's a trend, do the opposite. I want to be really careful with trends, especially with this, because it's taken us that long to make it.
Yeah, to do by the time it's finished.
If we've tried to follow trends and tried to like appease the whatever's popular on YouTube right now, by the time it was finished, it would look old-fashioned. Which is why we're going for the like retro futuristic late 1960s look, because it always looks classic. It always looks right.
So we stripped everything down. We took all the retaining bolts out for the master cylinders, so all this can be cleaned up. We'll clean all these up, degrease them, and then we can Loctite them in place for our final build. There are a few jobs that need to be done still. I still need to make the end stops for when it slides forward, and we've still got to do the accelerator and the spring for the accelerator. But I'm not going to do that on camera. We'll just show you later.
The accelerator we'll do, but we'll do it when we do the throttle body and stuff, because we aren't sure that we're keeping that throttle body. I'm tempted to go bigger. I had the luxury. I got myself a fresh tub of warm water. When I were a lad, you didn't get a tub of warm soapy water. You were lucky if you could conjure up half a cup of cold sick. And with this much to do, I'll be rubbing down to nubs.
Won't have a clue what you're talking about.
Good morning. Late finish yesterday, early start this morning. No fingertips left, but I got it all sanded. Now all we've got to do is get it all polished and buffed, because getting it sanded just gets it to a kind of same state where all of your components are in all the same condition, and hopefully all your scratches are running in one direction. Up to an 800 grit. Ideally I'd go to 1000 grit, but I haven't got any. And then we're just going to polish it all up with machines, and then polish it all up by hand, and then we'll buff it with a machine, and then it'll be all shiny. Easy. It would be better if we had a proper polishing setup with... I've got a bench grinder upstairs that needs a new switch, and I've been saving it for years and years and years so we can put a big buffing wheel on it. But I've just never had a chance to make a stand for it and get some big buffing wheels and stuff like that. One day we'll have a proper polishing setup, but it really needs to be in its own room. Because in my experience, when you've got a big polishing wheel, it makes everything you've got black. And so it really needs to be in like its own little like polishing jail. It's terrible. It makes everything mingy. So it can't be really in here and in a place where you have engines and stuff like that. So unless we've got a space dedicated to polishing, then really hand polishing and stuff's the best way. As you can see, everything is now shiny. It it'll all need a wipe down once it's assembled. We haven't done the runners yet, have we?
Nope.
That'll be next week when we do the plate, because I haven't done that either. But the base plate can also be drilled, but we'll do that. Like I said, we'll do that next week.
I can do it now.
You can do it now?
Yeah.
Are you going to polish the runners?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to do that now. Because it's been a lot, has this? Been a lot. Even though it feels like 5 minutes for you guys, hopefully. One shiny axle. So I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but Mosquito will have front and rear skid plates as well as a centre skid plate that runs down the middle. And the rear will act a little bit like a diffuser, not a perfect diffuser because it's not there for aerodynamics really. We don't want a lot of downforce in this, it's too softly sprung. But yeah, it needs a front and rear skid plate which need to be made of reasonably thick stuff. So when we order the material for that, we might remake this base plate in aluminium because we'll have material left over. But there was no point buying a massive sheet, which we will need for those, just to do this and then have it sat in the workshop for months on end. And so yeah, later date we might use this as a template to make an aluminium base plate. We'll have the option, which is nice. It's a lot of parts quietly away, isn't it?
Yeah. Tighten anything up until we get it all together. There's literally no clearance in here. Once the bolts are tight, that's it. You can't even get a bolt in.
Going back to what I was saying earlier in the video about how the seat is mounted solid and the pedal box is mounted solid, so if there were a little bit of wiggle or a little bit of play in something, I've just remembered that in an MX-5 Miata NA/NB, so Mark 1, Mark 2, MX-5, the brake master cylinder is mounted to the firewall, and the firewall flexes when you push the brake pedal hard. And they actually sell a brace that mounts to your master cylinder and then goes to the shock mounting, like up here, to brace your firewall against your shock mounting. Because that little bit of, once you put bucket seats in the car and you can push properly, that little bit of like flex means obviously less braking force, but also it's super unnerving. And there's none of that in this.
Get this out from under. You alright?
Yep, I'm alright. Only my thumbs. Luckily I've got two. Well, I might be devoid of hand oils, but you certainly aren't, sir. Sticky little mitts. It's like if you were assembled by a 5-year-old. Well, Dad, it's a shiny pedal box.
Yeah, it's worked out really well. It did take an awful lot longer than I expected it to, but I think it's been well worth it.
Yeah, not just the polishing, but the actual whole pedal
The whole
box.
thing, yeah. 10 episodes.
Yeah, we didn't expect that. We expected it to be about like 4 maximum.
Yeah.
But we've never made one of these before. And if we were to do it again, it would only take...
Yeah, it would be a lot quicker.
But, you know, such is life. I'm really happy with it though. To say we started off with a load of aluminium stock, a chopping board and a bicycle crank arm. It's a very pretty pedal box. Yeah. And it doesn't weigh that much. And most importantly, it didn't cost us $3.5 grand.
No, it did take us some time, but luckily, it's turned
out well. Is that what you wanted to say? You're all right. We've been at work a really long time. And it does slide, and it does lock, and it does pedal, although this angle's wrong. We can adjust that later. But we haven't put the springs in yet, have we?
No, because I'm going to make some little aluminium spacers for underneath. We've got nuts and bolts and washers. And
it was okay for proof of concept. But
not aesthetically pleasing enough. It doesn't go with the rest of the...
Even though it's underneath the pedal box and you'll never see it. And next week we'll be putting a top plate on top as well. So all of this will vanish. So all this work that we've just spent making it all pretty and lovely will soon disappear.
Yeah, the only bit you'll see is this bit.
Yeah, but you'll know it's there. And because you've watched all the way to the end of this episode, we'd like you to do us a favour. Please make sure that you go down in those comments and you leave us a mosquito emoji to make sure that we know who has watched to the end of this episode. On the way down there, you might as well click like it. But no, seriously, it really does help us. And we've seen a massive increase in comments in the last 3 videos. It's been incredible.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
You're all amazing. And speaking of which, a huge thank you to everybody who clicks like and subscribes, who's new, and like I say, leaves us a comment because you're superb. All the people who leave us super thanks, and our Patreon members. We have the best community on YouTube.
Yep.
And
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm massively proud of you all. So thank you. Make sure that you wait to the end of the beauty shots, because at the end of the beauty shots, if you are new here, there is a playlist with every single episode, all 93 of them. So if you didn't have anything to watch, you do now. So thank you all for watching. Please be awesome to each other, and we'll see you all in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.